Moodle allows us to include some reflective practices in our online courses. One which is built into Moodle itself is the diary activity. Like all the other activities, the diary activity can be added here. We can set up the title and instructions for a new diary. We can set availability. We can even colour it using hex codes. We can even collect statistics. If you don't want to have the job of rating diary entries, you can set up a system of automatic rating. Or you can set up minimum and maximum counts. You can count words, sentences, or paragraphs as minimums and maximums. You can set up a system of penalties for common errors. And like in all the other activities, you can set up the ratings. There are common module settings which you can tamper with if you wish. You can restrict access. And you can set up activity completion. This is always an important one. I'm going to request that my students receive a grade to consider this activity completed. When I finish the setup process, I hit Save and Return to Course. While I've set up the diary activity right across my course in all the sections, starting from the introductory section on culture and culminating in section 4, the grammar section. Section 5 is a case apart because I actually ask my students to use their diary entries, which they've accumulated throughout the course, to create a final assessment reflection process. In section 5, in the grammar, we can find the course diary set up as I have already prepared. This is what my students will see. There's an image which attracts attention and identifies the course diary activity. And there are instructions about how to go about completing this activity. I've set a kind of criteria of about 500 words minimum, of which there must be at least 3 paragraphs, each one dedicated to a separate subtopic. I'll show you how I set that up. I've given the diary a name, and in here, in the description box, I've added in a photograph and the explanation criteria of this activity. Availability and appearance, auto rating I've not touched, but I have set a word count minimum of 500 words. Ratings, I'm going to rate personally, so I'm going to set it maximum rating, maximum grade of 100, point system, 100 to pass. So it's just a question of ticking off participation. The other area where I intervened was to ensure that the activity can be considered complete only when the following conditions are met, and I need my students to receive a grade in order for the activity to be considered complete. So what's the rationale behind including this course diary in my course? Well, it kind of depends on my assessment. In the final section, which I ask for reflection and a class project, I want that reflection to be a result of reflections gathered throughout the course. Now, many thoughts and impressions may occur to people in the moment, but then are quickly forgotten. Keeping a course diary throughout the course with the obligation to include entries every single week, at the very least, means that by the end of the course, when my students are asked to perform a final course reflection, they have their notes and ideas and thoughts already recorded in their course diary. It makes that final evaluation, which is primarily about participation, much easier for them. And it means that some really interesting ideas have not been forgotten. In that final section, the course diary, which is a personal reflection, will be transformed into a group reflection, because these final reflections that I'll be asking my students to perform will be shared with their classmates and comments and replies and impressions will be welcomed. As I said, my final section is dedicating to showcasing and reflecting. Now, the group project that I have thought up is to create a handbook for teachers where they collate all the problems and solutions that they've either come up with throughout the course or can add to later on. That means all the people taking part in this course who are EFL instructors and who are already teaching Arabic speakers or think they may be teaching Arabic speakers in the future will be contributing to finding solutions, coming up with ideas for tackling specific linguistic problems for their students in this little collection. I can add mind mapping as an activity to precede the creation of the handbook. This will facilitate the job that I'm asking my learners to perform. Mind mapping, especially in a collaborative way, allows participants to share their thoughts, inspire one another, and develop other people's ideas further, and while letting other people develop their own ideas further, perhaps finding solutions where they were not able to. In order to harness the power of collaborative brainstorming, I'm going to add Moodle's mind map activity to my online course. You can see here the description of the activity as it will appear on the course to my students. This activity I intend to be used as a brainstorming preparation for the end of course project. For this reason, I don't intend giving a grade for the activity. I want students to consider it as an opportunity to brainstorm ideas together, making the final project that little bit easier. Here is the mind map. Let's have a look at what I've set up. And here is the mind map. Now, on the right hand side at the top, there are 3 large yellow circles. These aren't actually part of the mind map per se. These are formatting guidelines. I was concerned that if everybody chose colours and shapes according to their personal taste, the final mind map, or even while it's still developing, could end up being rather messy and difficult to consult. So I'm going to ask the people using this mind map to collaborate together to follow these guidelines. The first thing I'm asking is that to capitalise all the labels, to put issues and problems in red circles, and to put explanations and activities in the default blue box. Now that makes it easier. I would have thought there will be more of this kind of contribution, and it's what the system comes up with as the default. Now, I've started the mind map so that it doesn't fall on the shoulders of one particular student to have the initiative of doing this, of starting off this mind map himself or herself. It leaves them the task of picking up from where I've left off and carrying on. Now, the central node is the title of my course. It's green, hopefully a positive colour, because the idea is that the course will help resolve problems. The 3 main branches which come out of this central theme are 3 of the 4 main sections of my course: grammar, syntax and sentence structure, writing and pronunciation. I've worked on the pronunciation branch. Under the heading of pronunciation, we've got the first problem in the red circle, the word problem capitalised as a label, and then followed by a very brief description of the issue itself, the P sound in this particular case. The branches which stem off from the problem include explanations and activities. I'm not going to specify how many activities versus how many explanations there should be. It's up to the students to come up with their own solutions here. In the writing branch, I've just added one problem, one issue, and nothing else. And in the grammar, syntax and sentence structure, I've added nothing at all. I deliberately put this one on this side of the page, as it were, where there's a little more space, because it's the one which I foresee will generate most activity. Now, the usage of the mind map is pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward, it's fairly intuitive, but not completely. If I'm going to set a mind map like this in my course, I think I would probably include a little video tutorial for my students in the introduction. What I'd cover in that would be the basic features of mind mapping. Nodes are added like this, by clicking on the word and then clicking on the space in the mind map where you want to add it. You get to choose text color, like this. I'm going to leave this one as it is, grammar, okay. Color is fine, and this allows you to choose the box color. Say box, but in actual fact the shape also can be chosen. Hit save, and there it is. It's a little small because we're at a distance. Now let's assume I'm generating a mind map which covers the topic of grammar. Grammar is the central issue. And I'm asking people, students, learners, to add in some subtopics. They would add nodes in the same way as before, just deciding where around that central topic they want to place this new node, and they click. Again, they label. I'm just going to put in some nonsense here. Obviously not the case. I'm just going to leave everything as it is. I'm going to change maybe just the color of it and save. Okay, so now I have two completely separate independent components. I need to add the branch. Now, I can just point out, I can drag these elements around and reposition them. And your students, if you'll allow it, will have editing rights. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to intervene here. So let's just add what Moodle calls an edge, but which other mind maps often call branches. I just click on a node, hold with the left clicking, and drag to the other node that I want to link up with, and let go. That's how it's done. If something's wrong, you can click on it, delete it, and edit it. Same thing with the nodes. Click on them, and you can delete and edit. Now these can be dragged about, and the branch doesn't disappear. It changes color when you click on it. That's not me altering the color. Okay, so laying the groundwork of a mind map by starting it off by creating sections, labels, and so on and so forth, so that your course participants know what's expected of them, is the second stage. First, you have to set up in Moodle itself. So you go to add an activity or resource. This is extremely easy, very quick. Click on Mind Map. Give your mind map a title. Here's the space for description if you want. Ensure that students can edit the mind map, and leave as default enable locking. These are both default because otherwise the mind map will not be usable by your students otherwise, and you want the possibility to lock it after a certain period of time, not that the activity lasts for all eternity. Restricting access, you probably won't want to restrict access unless you're doing it by groups. Activity completion, if you're considering this activity as something to be rated or graded, then you may want to set some conditions. I'm not going to. Mine is merely a preparation activity, and then it's just hit save and display.